Welcome to the Roundup, where every single week we give you the biggest pieces of news and the best fantasy information from fantasylife.com to help you dominate your fantasy leagues. Now, we have a ton of injury news to get to. We have some bounce back players and potential sell high candidates, so let's get into it. We need to turn off the fantasy injuries immediately because this week was absolutely brutal. There were 4 fantasy relevant players put on IR, meaning they're going to miss a minimum of 4 games, with a couple players looking like maybe that injury timeline could be longer. So here are some players that we need to talk about where fantasy managers can pivot. Let's start with Justin Jefferson for the Minnesota Vikings. He was placed on IR with a hamstring injury and will be out until week 10 at least. Now, this is an interesting situation with the Minnesota Vikings, because depending on what their record is when Justin Jefferson comes back, could there be potential that they treat him like Cooper Kupp and the Rams last season, where they just completely shut him down? I'm not saying that this is expected to happen, but it's definitely something to keep on your radar. Same with Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins has been in a lot of trade deadline rumors, so he could also potentially be traded by the October 31st deadline. So just a couple things to keep in mind. But when we're looking at Justin Jefferson, we never want injuries, but the guys that are going to benefit the most from Jefferson being out are Jordan Addison and tight end TJ Hockenson. So we can see here, routes, targets per route run, targets, catchable targets, everything right here leans in Jefferson's direction. So we can expect potentially for the rookie Jordan Addison to really be stepping up, but KJ Osborne is still going to be a good play in those deeper leagues. Both of those guys are going to be involved, but we'll see what Jordan Addison is able to do with Justin Jefferson out. Next, we have to talk about Colts quarterback Anthony Richardson. He is out 4 to 8 weeks, and that timeline is a little bit longer because surgery is on the table for Anthony Richardson, which is so unfortunate based on what we saw from his fantasy production. So we're hoping for a very quick recovery for him, but the guy stepping up is going to be Gardner Minshew, as you can see on the board Pro 75 here, and he's taken over a few times for Anthony Richardson. So we've seen him a little bit this season. And now, while you may think that this offense is a downgrade as a whole because of this injury, we need to look at Jonathan Taylor first. They've said this week that they're going to open up Jonathan Taylor a little bit more, so do not worry, Jonathan Taylor managers. This would impact him, in a positive way if we're looking at it that way. And I also want to highlight Josh Downs with the Indianapolis Colts, because I think that is a good priority add to go and get this week. He's averaged 15 points in the 2 games that Gardner Minshew has taken over, and I think we've seen a connection between him and Gardner Minshew. So if there's anyone that you're looking at in this offense to go out and get because of this injury, it's probably going to be Josh Downs. Yeah, trust me, I can't believe there's more injuries to talk about, but there are. We had 2 running backs go on IR this week as well. Achane for the Miami Dolphins and James Conner for the Arizona Cardinals. 2 big blows to those offenses. So let's start with Miami Dolphins. We're waiting to see if Jeff Wilson Jr. is going to be able to go this weekend, so that's still up in the air right now. But what's not up in the air is knowing that Raheem Mostert is going to have a huge game against the Carolina Panthers. You can go see our rankings. Dwayne McFarland has him as a top 5 play this week, a smash play. So Raheem Mostert managers are looking at this injury and knowing that Raheem Mostert is going to get a ton of work with Achane out. The other news we have to go through is the James Conner ones, and we can look at both Keontae Ingram and Amari DiMercato and say which ones could be good to start here. Now, Keontae Ingram was listed higher on the depth chart, if that matters to you guys, but I think Amari DiMercato was the good add this week for fantasy football because of his pass catching role that he could have in this offense. So we'll see. Both of them seem like it'll be a little bit of a committee, and we'll get a lot more answers during week 6 to see who the better back is. Heading into week 6, it's time to be making those decisions that could help you get into the fantasy playoffs. So let's go through some names of buy low, sell high candidates that you need to take a look at. Let's start with our buy low candidate, running back Dameon Pierce for the Houston Texans. Now, I understand you're looking at me saying, why the heck would I want the overall RB 32 in PPR points per game on my fantasy team? And it's understandable, but I'm here to say that these offensive line issues have not helped Dameon Pierce and this team overall as a whole. As we can see here, Dameon Pierce has 44 attempts over the last 2 games, but this offensive line is getting healthier, even though the efficiency hasn't been there for Dameon Pierce, and this offense has been performing way better than expected. The last thing I want to point out about Dameon Pierce and why he is a good buy low candidate is that he has some pretty juicy matchups after his week 7 bye, as Ian Hartitz pointed out in his article. We can look to start week 8 at Panthers, number 31 in PPR points per game allowed to running backs. And then we go down the list. Week 9, you've got the Buccaneers at number 15. Week 10, Bengals are number 16. Cardinals number 29. Jaguars number 10. Broncos number 32. And at the Jets number 24. So these are some really juicy matchups that we need to look at if you're looking into buying Dameon Pierce low, but just added to the other list of reasons why this could be a really good move for your fantasy team. Now let's talk about a sell high candidate in wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins for the Tennessee Titans. This is a great time to sell high on DeAndre Hopkins because he had season best marks in receptions and yards in week 5. And he has a career high average of 2.54 yards per route run and was wide receiver 8 in week 5 as well, which we think that he can build off of. But don't let me tell you that. Let's look at the utilization to confirm. As we can see here, 29% targets per route run. That is 5th in the NFL right now. And what we can also see here from the utilization is that his route participation was not so good for the last 3 weeks. We can see 72%, 83%, and 68.9%. But then all of a sudden in week 5, a 97% route participation, which was incredible. And with that came 22 fantasy points. So it's all looking good for DeAndre Hopkins. Treylon Burks is not traveling with the team for their game this weekend as well. So DeAndre Hopkins, a great sell high candidate. I just want to take a moment to congratulate the 2 undefeated teams left heading into week 6. And that, of course, is the San Francisco 49ers and the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, the 49ers have looked incredible, dominating, and CMC is firmly in that MVP conversation because of what he's been able to do with this team. And of course, the Philadelphia Eagles have also been dominating with Jalen Hurts leading the charge over there. But here's some stats for you. 62 NFL teams have started the season 5-0 since 1990, and 9 of them have gone on to win the Super Bowl. So you need to let us know if you think the San Francisco 49ers or the Philadelphia Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl this year. The Cincinnati Bengals were frustrating fantasy managers at the beginning of this season, and what was especially worrisome was Joe Burrow and that calf injury. But can we finally take a sigh of relief and look at Joe Burrow as a must-start every single week now? Dwayne McFarland is going to tell us.
What's interesting about the Bengals is they've really been telling us this all along. I can't tell like if it was just coaching negligence or no, they really were confident in Joe Burrow in the other games, like they were in this last one. But kind of where I'm heading with this is their drop back rate over expected, Marcus, is still the 4th highest in the NFL. So they're plus 6% when you look at it for the season. So that's a really high mark. What that means, they're a pass heavy team. No matter what game script they're in, whether they're leading, they're trailing, they're close, they're going to continue throwing the football. And they've done that all along. But finally this week, we did see Burrow a little more able to manage the pocket, scramble, do some nice things that would hint to us, right, that calf is definitely in a better spot. The real key, Marcus, will be let's not get too carried away, Joe Burrow. Let's not tweak that thing. Like, let's just keep it. Let's keep that thing right where it's at. We're looking good. But I do think at this point, we've got to move Joe Burrow back into that mid-range QB1 conversation. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see what happens with T. Higgins. He missed this last game due to the rib injury. Don't know what will happen in the coming weeks for him. He could still miss some more time. Obviously, though, you do get this glimpse. You know, I know this is kind of sidetracking, but you just have to, go with it, Marcus. It's looking at Jamar Chase, what it would look like if Jamar Chase is ever just in this offense without a guy like T. Higgins opposite of him. And they're moving him into the slot more often. They're moving him all over the formation, something we haven't seen a lot from Zach Taylor. And honestly, we've complained a lot about. We've complained a lot about Zach Taylor not being a very imaginative, play caller, getting his guys in these nice positions to do extra things. So at least he's trying to do that right now with Jamar Chase, with T. Higgins out. So that's a plus.
Now let's go through our Underdog Pick'em plays going into week 6. It is one of our favorite times of the Roundup. And I want to remind you all, make sure you use promo code LIFE because Underdog is matching your first deposit up to $500, which is absolutely incredible. So make sure you go underdogfantasy.com and use promo code LIFE. Now let's get into our Underdog Pick'em plays for the week. All right, now that we're all logged in at UnderdogFantasy.com and we use that promo code, let's get into our favorite pick'em plays going into Week 6. I want to start with the Carolina Panthers taking on the Miami Dolphins. I know this is not a good spot for Carolina, but I do want to look at Adam Thelen. I think I want to go higher on his 6 receptions because he has absolutely been thriving in the slot. We haven't projected at Fantasy Life for 8.8 receptions, so I still think this is a little bit low. So we're going to go higher than 6 receptions here. The next game I want to go to is Chicago and Minnesota. Now, again, it is really tough news with Justin Jefferson, but I want to look at this and see what plays we can make with Justin Jefferson out. And so I really want to look here at the rookie Jordan Addison, and I want to go higher than 53.5 receiving yards. Like we said, KJ Osborne is going to get his, same with TJ Hockenson. They're going to benefit with all this extra work out there. But I think this number is just a little bit too low for Jordan Addison at 53.5. We have him projected at Fantasy Life 71.2. So again, just a little bit low on the receiving yards. I'm hoping for a bigger game for Jordan Addison, especially going up against the Chicago Bears. So we're going to do that one. Last one I want to go to is the Philadelphia Eagles, and I really want to look at a potential touchdown that we're going to talk about. And I know this Philadelphia Eagles team is facing the New York Jets, so that's a whole other story. But I think I want to go higher, 0.5 rushing and receiving TDs for Jalen Hurts. He has 4 rushing touchdowns on the season. I think this is another game where he's just going to say, okay, I'll take it in myself. So I really like this spot for Jalen Hurts. I'm going to go higher, 0.5 rushing and receiving touchdowns. So that is our pick'em slip, as you can see right over here, and we'll bring it over. We like the Adam Thielen higher than 6 receptions. We like Jordan Addison higher than 53.5 receiving yards, and we like Jalen Hurts to score a touchdown. So make sure you lock this in. Make sure you use promo code LIFE to get that first deposit match up to $500, and good luck. All right, that was the roundup heading into Week 6. I appreciate everyone watching. Make sure you go to fantasylife.com where you can see all of our rankings, all of the utilization report, all 100% free. It will help you dominate your fantasy leagues from here on out. Appreciate you watching, and good luck in Week 6.